All right, welcome back. In today's interview, what I have for you is Charlotte. And Charlotte is one of my coaches and master coaches. She's done her training 5 years ago. And this is one of my follow-ups in terms of getting into their homes and finding out what's happening in their life 5 years later after they took my training. So guys, welcome Charlotte, and let's see what story she has to share today. Charlotte, you can obviously hear me, right?
I can hear you, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
All right, welcome back. It's been a while. When was the last time I actually saw you? Because obviously saw you 5 years ago in training, but we've been in touch here and there. But it's been a while.
I popped into one of your trainings, I think 2019, before COVID times. I just popped in just to say hi. Yeah.
Cool. So as you know, the intention here is really just to kind of have this platform where you share your story and, I don't know, tell us things like, how was life before you took my training? But mind you, I don't want this to be exactly like all about my training kind of thing. I'm really want to have a broader picture, so part of my audience can also have an insight of what is like being a coach nowadays, what does that entail, and all those things. So before we get into that space in terms of, hey, if somebody's interested to become a coach, and perhaps, hey, let's hear it from coaches that are coaches who see clients, coaches who are working coaches, if you know what I mean. So before we get there, I would really love you to tell us kind of thing, if you can even remember really, what was life about prior to you doing this training? What were your circumstances? Where were you at in your mind? You know, share with us a little bit of before coaching, and kind of we'll just lead the conversation wherever it goes from there.
Absolutely. I remember it literally like it was yesterday, even though it was like 5 years ago. So basically, I'm obviously from the UK. I've always been in the health and wellness space, working in the corporate fitness world, and I kind of got this job opportunity in Dubai, and it was all very exciting. I went over to Dubai and got stuck into my new role, and I was absolutely loving it. But honestly, like behind closed doors, I was really struggling, and I was actually like really stressed. But it might sound strange, but I didn't even realize I was that stressed. It was almost like I was kind of just sleepwalking and just living this life of going to work, really enjoying it, and then kind of coming back and just kind of being stuck in my own space. That was like overthinking things. That would be just not being sure about where all of this was leading towards. You know, I was absolutely almost detached from my own choices. And I was just sleepwalking, living the life that I thought I should be living, rather than one that I think I ever decided to live. And that was pretty much my life, and kind of how I was feeling for a good, well, to that intensity, a good year to 18 months. And that was when I was like, okay, something's got to give. This can't be right. Like, I kind of almost woke up to the stress that I was experiencing. And lo and behold, I did the classic Google search, find Mr. Robert Simic pop up on my radar.
Yeah, supports us much.
So much. Then I went obviously onto the PB, the initial 2 days, and that was like opening Pandora's box for me. It was a little bit of a gap between when I did the first 2 days and then fully into the 10-day experience. Now in hindsight, I wish I'd gone straight into the 10 days, because those first 2 days, they opened Pandora's box, and I just began questioning everything. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Okay, and now I understand how I've got here. And I knew there was just more to work on. There was more to do. And that was when I ended up obviously signing up and doing the 10 days and going a lot deeper. And yeah, I can honestly say I haven't felt the way that I did before the training since.
So what happened for you as not as becoming a coach, but rather for you as a human being, as a person during that training? Did you experience any breakthroughs on your own, or did you were you just seeing others having so, if you know what I mean? Did you have any personal breakthroughs in the process?
Oh, absolutely. For even in I think probably the first day, like when I just did the initial PB experience, absolutely. I don't think it's possible to enter that room and not have a breakthrough, no matter where you're at, because as much as I knew I needed help, I still sold myself the story that I was there to increase my skill set for my job and for my team, and to take all these tools and go and implement it for others. But obviously, as soon as you enter the room, for me, it was like just a bit of a wake-up call, as to, no, you need to be applying these things to yourself. So immediately I had, for sure, some breakthroughs there, in just in terms of opening my eyes. And then I remember going to, obviously when I did the 10 days, I don't think I really spoke much. It was so long ago now, but I just remember almost just being the observer in this room full of people and just witnessing so many things that just defied probably the way I'd ever thought about anything. And it was very, very powerful. It was very, very inspiring. But within just witnessing that, I was having my own experiences. And then obviously when you get into kind of the experiential practices, from there you can't not have your own personal experiences. So for me, that meant discharging a lot of emotions, just paradigm shifts galore. The way I was thinking about myself, the way I was thinking about relationships, the way I was thinking about my future, it all completely shifted.
So you're kind of saying you came for some tools and knowledge and you became a client instead.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
And I understand that some people are somewhat reserved, I think, to even embark on this journey because, you know, being in a room full of other people, strangers, different qualifications, because as you know, we have doctors, veteran psychologists coming for this training, but we also have, you know, corporate guys, we have housewives, we have youngsters, like teenagers sometimes entering into this room as part of the training. So some people are more like reserved. Who knows how this environment will be for me? And I interview a few people, obviously, and getting, you know, asking them this question, and it's kind of fun to hear how they perceive it, because I'm really curious if you could remember, you know, you entering that room, or how was it on day one for you, or did anything change over time? You know, like, I'm really just curious your personal experience with all this variety of different cultures, different backgrounds, different age. How did you experience that?
So there was two key things that happened for me. So the first thing, I think, when I kind of walked in and when I had started to like hear you talk and see all these different people around me, I was thinking, oh, okay, so maybe how I've been feeling is actually more common than I thought. I wasn't the only one. So immediately it was like very reassuring. And it was like, if this guy can have this many people in a room, I think there was about 30 of us around that time. I mean, now your rooms are packed with like 100 people. Word gets around, right? But you had this way of almost like bringing us together, as if you was almost just talking to one of us, even though there were so many of us. But also at the same time, there was all these different people from all different walks of life experiencing so many things that were actually shared. And from that, I think, you know, aside from the initial nervousness that I think anybody has going into something brand new, complete unknown, I think very quickly we all become very, very close, and you're sharing things with people. Well, I certainly was sharing things with people that I'd probably never shared before in my life, even to myself. So like the bond that's created in that room is something very, very special.
All right. Now I just also realized we kind of again made it about the training. So let me ask you, how's life now? Because it's like, look, I really find immense amount of joy in this way, really visiting you guys a few years later. Not like, you know, some of you I get to see here and there. You guys come and say hello when I'm in town again or whatever. But I think it's different when you finish the training and you're all excited and motivated and every life is amazing. You know, I really think it speaks volumes for itself where I catch up with you 3, 4, 5 years later or 10 years later, and you tell us about how's life now. So who's Charlotte now? What's Charlotte's life looking like now? What do you do for living? I get you're in UK now, right? You used to be in Dubai, but you're in UK now, right?
Yeah, so we've moved back to the UK for a few months, interim stop during Corona times before we relocate to Thailand, because our coaching practice and online education business is, as it says on the tin, online, and we've got that luxury now where we can kind of move around, living the life that we've literally just created for ourselves. And kind of like I said at the beginning, that was never something that was even in my mind as a possibility, and now we're living it, which is amazing. But I think, to give you some context, I didn't just flip straight from that to this, right? There was a whole journey in between. And, you know, like I said in the beginning, I initially like went into training and to get tools for my team and such. And that was amazing. And the more I kind of stepped into those new paradigms that I mentioned, I was able to kind of climb that corporate fitness ladder and got to a point where I was loving what I was doing, but I also learned so much about myself that I realized that wasn't for me anymore. That environment, as good as the whole experience was and how much I could grow in that kind of corporate space, I just knew there was something more. And I think that was kind of unleashed the more I obviously got to work on myself and the more experiences I had. And I was already kind of coaching alongside that kind of corporate role that I was in. And from there, I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And it would energize me and fuel me so much that then when I would go back into that corporate space, it's like, what am I even doing here? Not because it wasn't a good place to be, but just because I just knew there was just something so much more, it's kind of special that I could be doing with everything that I'd learned. And that's then what's led me now to having my own business. I kind of left that corporate fitness world in 2017 and have been coaching full-time ever since.
So you made it some sort of a transition then, right? You carried on with corporate until all this kicked in for you in terms of your passion, and I guess you integrating all of this too, and then you started a business, right? What I'm saying is, I didn't tell you this, but I went to your website before this, and I noticed that you're helping people, I guess, change their life from stressful life to stress-free life, and that's a pretty bold statement, which I'll ask you about in a moment. But you're also having online courses and things that you're selling online, I guess, which what you mentioned, it doesn't keep you grounded in one place. You can now live kind of anywhere in the world because a lot of your business gets done online. Tell us about that, because I think that's kind of the future that's here already in terms of people's businesses and how communication, everything else works around us nowadays. So how's it working for you? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I found was that when I was doing in-person coaching, as I absolutely love that, and I still love that to this day, there was still a bit of a kind of transition in terms of like time almost being stolen between sessions, between people getting stuck in traffic and all these little things. And I just was thinking all this time, these little micro moments, when they add up, that's another person that I could be helping. And that for me just was like, well, then in that case, I need to be more efficient and spread further, because now I don't only have to work with people in Dubai, I can work with people anywhere in the world. And now I have clients from Dubai, from different countries in the Middle East, in the US, Australia, different places in and around the UK. And it's something very, very powerful, I think, when you can almost have that ripple effect further and wider than just our immediate environment. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of power in that alone, but for me, I just felt that need to almost expand further, and that's just helped coaching to be accessible for people that maybe had never really thought about it before. Where I'm from in the UK, I'd never heard of anything like what I now deliver and what I learned a lot from you, Robert. Like, I'd never heard of it. You wouldn't hear about that anywhere. I mean, I was like, how old was I? Like 27 before I ever heard anything about being stress-free, and we don't have to actually keep stress in our lives. It's like, well, why didn't somebody tell me this sooner? Like, why wasn't I taught this in school? Like, and so I think it got just to that point of, no, I want to be able to be that voice for others that don't know that these things are a possibility. And that's kind of how it's now grown into what it is, that it's now made it accessible for others.
Look, I can obviously just concur. I mean, being able to reach, should I say, to expand your reach from local, village or a city we live in, and to somehow suddenly have no boundaries really, and you can work with a client in Australia, I guess, as long as you adjust your time zones, that can work. As in, suddenly there's no boundaries. You can cater for the whole world and help anyone who's ready or who reaches out. And I think there's something in that I find priceless too. But here's the other thing, I'm assuming that bought your own personal freedom, because suddenly, well, also you're not driving to work and back every day, because I'm assuming you're doing it at home or from a holiday or wherever you're at, because suddenly you're not bound to any of this. And that future that, we can say future, but that future is here. And I know many coaches of mine that are delivering their sessions, having their whole coaching practice, we say online, meaning on calls like this, coaching, delivering this service. And yet so many people out there, I think, are still thinking, is it even possible? I mean, how could you, I guess, do a 10 days training and then out of that turn this into a self-sustainable business and live from this, as I'm assuming it's your main stream of income, since you're no longer in corporate. So you're kind of saying it boldly, that's possible. That's not. I'm like, I'm living it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more than possible. Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I think once you have a taste of it, because with coaching, as you know, Robert, within a few minutes, you can really have a profound impact with somebody. It doesn't even have to be a video call. It can be just a telephone call, and you can really help somebody shift incredible paradigms just through having a conversation. Not only now with obviously the technology that we've got available, now we can actually use video and other different modalities in order to be able to actually do a lot of deeper experiential coaching sessions as well.
I guess that's exactly right. I think people don't have such a big, should I say, obstacle to buy into possibility or believe that it's possible to run a business like this online, or any business really. Okay, I think people have that kind of awareness that running business online, it's possible, doable. It's not like, it's not like we are in 90s now, right? Okay, it's 2020 already. So here's the thing though. What I think people's main obstacle in terms of buying into this possibility is rather, how can you add so much value in one's life so quickly? You just made a really bold statement, and I know you're not aware of it because you might, your coaches, you're like, duh, like we can do those things. But I think people find it hard to believe. I often tease, I go, I like when they call me unbelievable, but people find it hard to believe that you can actually help another human being on such a deep, meaningful level in one coaching session. Okay, because I don't know, whatever the reasons are, and I would even think some of them have coaching experience, meaning as clients, they've been to one or few coaches and they didn't get major value. They didn't get some wow, aha moments or transformation that you speak of. What do you think is the difference between, and again, not putting other coaches down by any means, but you are a coach in your own right, if you know what I mean. So what makes you different? What are you capable of doing for other people? If I pitch it differently, I believe that what enabled you to a great extent to live the life that you're living now, working from wherever in the world you choose to live in and running your business, from there, I think in my language, I translate that you invested in yourself and you became this phenomenal resource to other human beings. So resourceful, such a resource in their life that they're willing to pay you to be around and keep helping them, or to have a place to go to when they are stuck, challenged emotionally or otherwise, just achieving certain goals. You being in a position to help them in such a meaningful, deep, transformative manner so quickly, I think that's what people are willing to buy into. I believe that world turned around already. People don't care how many PhDs you have or diplomas on your wall. I think they really just want to know, can you help me? And if you can guarantee you results and things like that, I think it's easy to get clients who see value in that. So I'm kind of speaking my language. I'm translating that you invested in yourself in this way and added value of you in other people's lives. So in my mind, they could take away your electricity and your internet, and world could go to complete collapse in a way. You would still have value. You would still be around other human beings, and I don't think you'll ever be on the street or be hungry because you are valuable to others. That's something that I like emphasizing. I don't think people get it by themselves. Often people invest in their tools, in their cars, in their, whatever different assets. And I find the best investment we can make, as cliche as it sounds, is when we make one in ourselves, when we become more valuable to others. I think that just puts us in a very different place to be, no matter what happens with the world in any way. So I want to highlight that. So tell me, how do you see that? You obviously can do some beautiful things for your clients, otherwise you wouldn't have a successful business. So what kind of stuff do you do for them? And I'm just reminding you that no matter what you say, I know what's going to come out is some bold statements that are so too good to be true. But I don't care. Say whatever's your truth. And what kind of work do you do with clients? When you say, on one call we can help them change it, what kind of stuff do you work with your clients? What do you help them change or overcome? I figured your website thingy, from stressful to stress-free life. What is it that you actually do for them? What kind of change can you create or help create for clients?
Yeah, so people always come to us with their own story and their own description of what they are experiencing, right? But when we kind of come down to it, underneath it all, underneath all those layers of story, there's a layer of stress present, and it's getting to the root cause of that stress for that person. So the outcome can be very different. You know, we've worked with people who have wanted to transition their own careers and go and work for themselves, that actually want to follow their dreams and go and be a writer instead of working in their mundane job that they're not enjoying anymore. We've had people that just want to be better parents. We've had other people that just want to stop overthinking and be able to concentrate on what it is they're actually doing, and know that what they do has meaning and purpose. And I guess to answer your question, the biggest thing is just helping them, guide them through that process and understand, first of all, like, what are they experiencing, and that it's almost okay that they've got to this point now, but now what are they going to do about it? We don't get sucked into that story that they've been telling themselves about what they're experiencing. We just go straight to almost the root of what's going on, and we work with that. And then from there, like, very quickly, the shifts just happen naturally. And it's not just a shift as in they suddenly just start thinking positively. It's that they learn to almost build rapport and trust with themselves. And like, just to mention what you said earlier about, you know, if anything could happen in the world, you still can be a resource for somebody else. That's only because of that trust, and that trust of oneself and their intuitive ability to be able to show up. And ultimately, that's what we do with our clients. We empower them so that they make that change for themselves. We just almost provide the tools to doing it, and watch them just flourish. And it's a wonderful thing to see.
It really is, because I have a good idea of what you're referring to. But what do you say to people who go like, but give me something factual? How about you give me an example of some major transformation that happened in your coaching office with one of your clients? Because I really think people need to hear specifics in terms of what specifically happened, because you can talk about this big transformation, this life-changing moment, life-transforming stuff, you know, but I think it's in the detail when they get to understand on how deep actually your skills go in terms of what kind of work, what can you help somebody overcome?
So I'll give you one example of a lady that we work with, and she was experiencing real, like, debilitating chronic pain. She'd been struggling with back, neck and shoulder issues for so long that it got to a point where even kind of getting out of bed was a struggle. She could do it, but it was an absolute struggle. She had a couple of little kids, obviously, that were relying on her, single mother as well. So you can just kind of imagine the other stresses that could be going on in her world. And she'd been to see so many specialists. She'd been to see physical specialists, she'd been to see different therapists, because they were like, no, we haven't found anything physically, so it must be something in your mind, and you're almost making it up, essentially. These were experts telling her this. And in the end, she kind of just she come across us. She'd come across us through speaking to a couple of other different people that had worked with us. We didn't know, but she'd gone and actually, you know, reached out to some of the people that had, like, been following us for a while online. Another perk of being online is people create community, and they end up talking to each other sometimes before they even start speaking to you. And we work with her, and she come, obviously, online sessions. Sometimes, you know, it'll be, it's too painful to get out of bed, I can't do the session. It's like, no worries, it's online, you can do it in bed, not an issue. And we would just work through some of the boundaries that had been created in her, we work with her in terms of blowing up the boundaries that she created for herself. She'd basically almost kind of lived her life in such a way that she'd put herself in this pain. I know that sounds like, again, a bit of a bold statement, but with all of her life experience and the trauma she'd experienced, she had so much emotion pent up that now is physically causing her issues. But those emotions were also coming from a psychological space as well. And the thing is, when those two things come together, they just creates this big cocktail of almost like a mess inside that just needs to be untangled. And when you get to untangle those things, suddenly that the intensity of them starts to disperse. And that's exactly what she then experienced through shifting different perceptions that she had from releasing years and years of emotion. She was able to just not only look younger, she was able to actually move just from doing that. She's now playing tennis. She's now training to do her first triathlon. This is somebody that couldn't get out of bed. And obviously you can imagine somebody that can't get out of bed, who's experiencing depression, feeling completely lost, almost hopeless, that everybody she spoke to can't help. And just by helping her shift those things, using the time paradigm techniques, using other techniques that we've learned on your trainings and then further trainings after, we've been able to get her to a place now where she's just happily living her life. And now she's working as a chef who's on her feet all day, every day, pretty much, like 16 hours a day sometimes. So that was probably one of the boldest kind of transformations we've seen, from not only a physical but also an emotional and mental capacity as well.
Beautiful, obviously very inspiring. Tell me though, because I know what I get inspired about. When you say somebody in your coaching office, should I say, or in your coaching session, they had to go and release, I don't know what words you use, but to release this lifelong emotional traumas or lifelong emotional baggage, sometimes we call it. Sounds like a hectic session. Sounds like, man, if I was the client, I gotta do that now. I'm gonna relive my whole past and tell you the details of all the traumas that happened. Is that what you meant, or does that happen somehow differently, actually?
Yeah. You obviously know the answer to that, but yeah, and listen, that's one of the beauties of what it is we learn, and it's definitely the beauty of what I learned with you, is that the power of these tools is you don't have to relive anything. In fact, it's actually quite a pleasant process, and it's something that can happen so quickly. Less than 20 minutes, you can have that tension and that stress and that unresolved baggage just disappear. And again, it almost sounds a bit too good to be true, but when you start to understand where these techniques are coming from and the depths of those, and that's what makes us different from other coaches. I've done many different trainings from different coaches, some very well-known people, and they just don't go kind of deep enough. It's all very superficial. And I know you don't want to make this too much about obviously your own training, but that was one of the biggest things that makes us stand out. But that's what makes us stand out, the ability to go deeper. And you taught us that with the techniques that you've armed us with as coaches, and to be able to help somebody to release all of that unnecessary, unresolved negative emotion without having to go revisit any past pain and just let it disappear and dissolve in almost an instant, then again, you can't put a price on that.
Look, I obviously find it very, I get a lot of joy just watching you speaking about it as if it's a normal thing. Obviously, something you've seen so many times, it's totally like taken for granted. And it's beautiful for me to see that, because I can't really remember, but I could hallucinate remembering that back in the training when I was on the stage and I said something like, hey guys, you can take the sum total of all unprocessed negative emotion of, let's say, anger or sadness, all the piled up emotional baggage, fear, hurt, guilt, name any emotion that's been unprocessed, that's been heavy or kind of bugging you, or that you've been carrying it around for last decade or whole life, really, in some cases. And I can show you a really simple, easy to do way where within 5 minutes you'll release all of the piled up sadness, for example. And you take another 5 minutes, you said 20, meaning all of those, right? You spend half an hour with a client and help them reset on such a deep, profound, unbelievable, meaningful way. That's not easy to sell. I don't think people, I don't remember any clients of mine ever, personal clients, coming to me saying, hey, I need this, I want this, because it's so far-fetched that it really sounds impossible. And yet I watch you guys some years after the training going, of course, I do this every day. And it sounds too good to be true, but it's totally true for us, I guess, who know how to do this. And I think I find a lot of pleasure knowing that you guys are different than most coaches out there, because while most of the coaching methodologies are, like you said, you said superficial, surface-based, I guess it's a nicer word. A lot of it is based on advice giving. A lot of it's based on different good quality questions being asked to the client. Little bit of empowerment, I guess, and getting clarity in terms of what they want, setting goals. But it really is around behavior causes results and kind of working in that space where you guys are like upgraded to change experts, all I know. Because if you can guarantee anything to your clients and during your sessions, I believe you can guarantee change. You know,
Yeah.
because we just know how to make change. You know.
And that's the thing, like it's seeing that change and feeling it, experiencing it for yourself that not only makes us better coaches, but it also shows the clients. You know, often clients now come to us because they've heard me talk about my experience in doing that, and they don't know what that actually is. You know, when we're even sitting here now talking about, you know, in 30 minutes you can release all this baggage, they still don't know really what that entails. But because they've kind of seen that before and they've seen the result, they now know it's possible. And I think the minute you show somebody something is possible, they can start to believe it. So immediately, you know, their world expands as to suddenly what they can do. And I think that's where that kind of depth comes into it with what it is you teach us.
I relate to it from my perspective when I'm on the stage and when I present certain information or introduce a certain topic that we'll cover just now. You guys are pretty much sitting on the edge of that chair, and some of you are like, I kind of keep you on that edge of you're about to leave the room because this is obviously a waste of your time because it's all nonsense. It's not possible. It's just this guy lost his marbles, you know. But I keep you on the edge, meaning I still give you enough, so I say congruency in the way I say it, and enough reason to stay, because I told you very early in the training that no matter how too good to be good sounds, I'm going to demonstrate everything I say. So stick around. You guys are real people. I'll do real demos with you people, you know.
Yeah.
So I think like you said, them seeing others go through this or them learning of other people going through this, it makes it from, dude, it sounds too good to be true, but what if it's true? What if it actually worked for me? And I think that perceived value in that gives them enough motivation to check it out at least. We don't need our clients to be believers, right? We need them to be willing to give it a go and see what happens. And I don't know, I didn't ask you this, but a lot of my coaches offer this full money back guarantee, or basically guarantee their results. And I think that's a game changer in this industry. I mean, which psychologist, psychiatrist, or anybody in therapy business really guarantees results? You know, it's almost impossible. It's silly guaranteeing results when it depends so much from the clients, right? And yet we came to know our tools on a level that we do, and we're like, dude, if you're just willing and raise a hand and you want this, it's going to work. So do you want to comment on that? Because I don't want to like take over this conversation, and because I'm obviously passionate about the same stuff. So it's better if I hear it from you. How do you see how uniquely you guys are positioned when you are what I call change experts, rather than, I don't know, giving people advices and telling them what to do, and, you know, different kind of coaching? Do you see that difference?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, clients, they'll shop around, right? A lot of people do their research. Even like me, before I come and did your training, I would shop around and like compare things. And I think a lot of people do that naturally. And clients do that with us too as coaches. But when they, I think, see the difference between somebody that is willing to guarantee their results, it builds again that trust. It's like, well, if this coach trusts themselves that much, maybe I can trust them too. And the only way that trust is built is through the confidence, through experiencing the tools and techniques that you've shared with us. And it is about the experience of those, because it was one thing to see you demonstrate like different things on stage, but then it's our turn, right? Then we get to do it, and that's when you start to feel it for yourself. So that confidence just comes in straight away. And I think that's then the thing that makes it stand out from opposing kind of trainings is, you know, you don't forget it. You don't forget an experience that you have. You forget information, you forget knowledge, but you learn to be a coach. You embody being a coach, and our clients embody being clients, like wholeheartedly, and they do just want to put their hand up and say, yeah, I'm all in. And that's when the magic happens. That's when these incredible results come through. That's how we then are able to guarantee results. And I think any coach that isn't prepared to guarantee their results, they've still got some work to do for themselves as well. I mean, we all always have on some level, but I believe that having the confidence in those tools makes you an even better coach, rather than just thinking, oh, I can use this tool or this tool. Having the confidence to know they work, it makes all the difference.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I'm hearing you, and I gotta admit, at the same time, parts of me is observing this from a different angle, and I'm really just immersing myself in, and it's beautiful to speak to you. And when I say to speak to you, I was going to say to speak to you guys, because I've done 4 or 5 of those interviews already. Yeah. And I guess I just didn't know. In other words, some of you are kind of staying in my life, and then you're sticking around, and every training I do, you come for a refresher or you stick around. You're one of those who came once for refresher, I believe, but I also remember that every time I was in town, you were like, I'd love to come, but I'm booked out with clients. And I don't know what's nicer for me to hear, you know, like that sort of thing. So it's beautiful for me to get those real stories like this one-on-one, when I get a chance to really hear how you're doing and how you're thinking and how much you embody this as a new life in a way for you. So beautiful. I just want to commend that. That's like I wanted to give you a compliment in a way. Tell me, do you have any advice for anybody who's kind of in your shoes where you used to be, perhaps considering leaving corporate or just seeking for more meaningful life in a way, changing careers, or let's just say somebody who's already on a path of doing research and embarking on this journey of starting this career for whatever reason? Do you have, because you're living this career now, so it's like from your mouth, do you have any advice for those guys? Isn't the world already full of coaches? Isn't it too late?
Yeah, not RSCI coaches. First of all, thank you for the compliment, because it wouldn't be possible without the teachings you've obviously shared, not only with me, but the other coaches and the community you've created. But to answer your question, and this is something for sure also I've learned from you, is that if you're just excited at the thought or the idea of change, or just, like you said, living a life of purpose, or transitioning career, or just doing something, no matter how big or small it is, if you're excited by it, you should be listening to that, because that's one of the first places you build trust, is when you start following your highest excitement, which is a phrase I always now use, and it's like almost a mini Robert. Every time I say it, I hear your echoing voice in the background. But that really is like a big clue to be listening to. And the second I started to do that, I never doubted myself in where I was going.
So you're saying when you follow your passion, your highest excitement, life just happens. Mind you, I'm not saying any of this was easy, effortless journey for you. The transition you mentioned, or creating this successful business. I'm not saying any of this happened and you were just like walked into it. I'm pretty sure you built it and you've done certain things to achieve that. But in looking back, wouldn't you say that when we are congruent and we show up with our passion, knowing what we want to do, it seems to me like the rest of the universe conspires, the right people, the circumstances, the answers, the plans, the solutions, they just start popping up out of nowhere seemingly, and life just happens for us and through us, I tend to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to kind of touch on one thing you said there, because it can sound so cliche. So if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, follow your passion, that's so easy to say. It's like, take passion away, because we can be passionate about many things, and sometimes it gets diluted a little bit. It's that excitement. If there's a clue inside of you that is making you think, well, this could be a possibility, or this sounds exciting for me and I can feel it inside, that's the thing that makes it then become effortless. Not necessarily easy, but effortless. And that's where that change happens naturally, and you get to enjoy the process no matter what the outcome is. You get to just enjoy what's happening. Even now, in these crazy times in the world, it's like, just keep following what's exciting you the most. You can quiet the noise when you're listening to that level of excitement, and that's from there is where you can build upon and just keep going in a direction. And before you know it, you do look back and you're like, whoa, that was 5 years ago. Like, it feels like a lifetime ago for me, and it can be for other people too, just if they're willing to listen and put their hand up and say, hey, do you know what, let's give it a try.
Awesome. Look, I can't help it but add something that you said that triggers me. Telling people, follow your highest excitement, follow your passion, be the change you want to see in the world. All those beautiful, very deeply, I'd say profound statements sometimes, yeah. Because I feel like we really get them, if you know what I mean. But telling people that, it's the equivalent of telling them, hey, just be positive in your life. Negative emotions, they bring you down. Think positive, happy thoughts, like Peter Pan, that kind of level of coaching is nowhere close to what we do, because last thing we do is telling people what to do. Because I learned long ago, telling people what to do, it just doesn't work. You know, they hear it, they understand it. Of course they want to, but there's this all those, so I say, habitual programming that we have that operates most of the time, and we just end up where we were. You know, we all we did, we experienced all this effort and sheer, you know, conscious will and push to make the change, to make a difference. It all goes away the moment you stop trying and doing it consciously. That's where the effort is. So the effortless part you're referring to is easy after your coaching, I would say, because your coaching part wasn't, hey, be positive. Your coaching part was, hey, be positive, and they go, yeah, easier said than done, coach, right? You go, I know, so let's first do this. You know, and then you help them overcome all those, let's call them obstacles or whatever things that are holding them back from within, stuff that they learned, they built up, adopted, and from thinking patterns to emotional baggage to, you name it, limiting beliefs and all those things. Because for me, in most coaching circles, when you say, hey, client has a limiting belief, what do you do? Oh, dude, you're gonna do affirmations. And there's this whole science around how to do affirmations in the wrong way and how to do it in the right way. And for me, what you guys are like light years ahead of that approach to coaching, because that's hard work, I believe, and most people don't manage to last long enough to create a change. That's why I keep saying you guys are change experts, because tell us, Charlotte, how long, if I was your client and I had a terrible limiting belief like I'm not good enough, or I had low self-esteem, or I'll never be able to achieve that, you know, all those limiting beliefs that really bring people down, I guess, and determine all of their decisions in life because of it. If that was my presenting problem to you, how long would it take you? And I really mean like thoroughly, how long would it take you to help me change such a devastating limiting belief? How long does it take to change one of the core limiting beliefs that one could have in their psychology? How long does it take?
Like 5 minutes max.
But you do realize how ridiculous you're saying that.
It does. But it's just that it feels so normal.
Which coach can say that?
Yeah.
You know, the prescription would be, let's do affirmations for next 2 years, or next, you know, 3 times a day with a lot of emotion, all the right ways to do it. Affirmations, incantations, all those other, in my world, somewhat obsolete modalities, because it's very hard to make them work. Most people don't, you know, last that long to make it sustainable change. And you take your client in 5 minutes, you help them change that, they go from low self-esteem to rather confident person. That's priceless, if you ask me, for anybody, because it affects every context of their life, every area of their life, the decisions they make in terms of jobs they'll go for, careers they'll go for, relationships they'll go for. It changes everything. Just helping somebody change their confidence, and you do that in 5 minutes. You know, it's a crazy
with a willing client.
Anyway, well, I'm gloating in our own little world of, we know what we know, right? So it's quite beautiful. I hope others, I don't know, watching this, listening to this, I can only hope they take this rather seriously, even though we kind of teasing here. I'm hoping they just go with it sounds way too good to be true. It's probably, you know, nonsense. But what if it was true? What if I could get a skill? And I don't mean even as a coach, because your story wasn't like I wanted to become a coach. You came for personal development, right? So what would this be worth in person's life if they could just do this for themselves, become this kind of more aligned, congruent person, confident, you know, aligned, I say, right? But what about having some of those skills while they do this for themselves in this training, also learning how to do it for others, not as a coach necessarily. But man, I think you become a different partner. You become a different father or a mother. Imagine one's kid being really challenged with, I don't know, somebody said something in school, right? Those little hearts, they get devastated about those things. Imagine being able, as a very differently resourceful parent, to help your child overcome the pain they're in. You know, shorten that process for weeks. All I know, that's priceless in my world. You know, so I really think this is not just for people who want to be coaches. This is for anybody who's inspired to, I guess, improve the quality of their life, let's say.
Absolutely. I believe you're a person before you're a coach. So you got to take care of the person before you can be the coach, I think, in my experience anyway, because the classic saying you can't pour from an empty cup is too true. You know, I've seen coaches, not that have done your training, funnily enough, but that have burned out like really, really quickly because they haven't really taken care of themselves in that process and done the work that they need to do in order to be able to then deliver that to the level that they could.
Spot on. For me, the way you said it just triggers things in me, because I was doing coaching a long time ago, and then I discovered NLP and then other things, right? And I was pretty much doing NLP up to a point where I tend to say it this way: I met one too many master NLP practitioner in the world that in their personal life, they're broken, stuck, unfulfilled. That's the time some years ago when I had to shift from that and upgrade it to what it is that I do now, that just couldn't be just NLP, if you know what I mean, because it just didn't seem enough. It didn't seem like those NLPers really got it all, kind of thing. And it's so beautiful to see you guys, because you're my proof is in the pudding. Like years later, Charlotte living a life that she's inspired by. It's beautiful to see that, you know, even though I know this, I know so many more, if you know what I mean, but it's still different when it's like, hey, zoom in, one-on-one, you know. so cool, Charlotte. Given time, I'm grateful for the opportunity to kind of. My original idea was to literally fly over wherever you guys are at, pay your not sudden. I guess I'd announce myself, but like, hey, let me come to your home and let's sit down and have this conversation. That was really the plan. But then, you know, Corona happened, and suddenly it's like, dude, that's never going to happen anytime soon. So let's go online, and I think it even serves the purpose of this idea that, dude, you don't need to have this physical and geographical, you know, boundaries and those theories to be a obstacle for us. We are saying we even coaching clients with some really deep, intimate things online. So hey, can't we have a normal conversation like this at least? You know, we don't have to wait for the ability to travel all around. Awesome. So Charlotte, do you have any other messages, anything else to share, say? Because I figured, you know, I just realized the time, so I'm like, hey, we're good to go. But if you have any other message, anything else to add, please do. In fact, I do want to ask you in a moment after this. I wanted to ask you about what's your website. If somebody is inspired by you and perhaps they want to reach out as, you know, to you as a coach, as in like, hey, this girl seems to know what she's talking about. I'd love to spend an hour or whatever, like check it out. How do they get more info? How do they find you? What's the process for that?
Yeah, cool. So first question, in terms of advice, I think I've already covered it earlier, is like just follow what you feel is resonating to you. So if there's somebody listening to this and they're thinking, yeah, I want a taste of that, and that you're on the fence and you're not sure, but there's something that's keeping you on the fence, that's a sign. Listen to it, follow that excitement, follow that feeling, and see where it takes you, because I don't think it can take you anywhere that you don't want to go. It doesn't work like that. It will only lead you somewhere good. In terms of where you can find us, thewellnesstheory.com. If you head over there, you'll find all of our contact details, heaps of free resources as well, if you're just curious. And if you want to reach out to obviously discuss coaching, or even to just discuss my experience on Robert's trainings, then reach out to us over there, and we'll be getting back to you straight away. Cool.
I'll have my guys add the website name on the screen just now, you know, like when we're done here, so cool. It will be easier to do that. Great. Charlotte, what do I say? Keep up with good work. Keep inspiring the world. Keep inspiring yourself, because you know what, this is another thing I'll just add with this. I find that when we tell other people what we do and how inspired we are with I guess we find this meaningful work for some, you know, it's like there's so much meaning we draw from it that it inspires us really. So when we speak about how excited we are about helping other people, I think people tend to make this little mistake and see us like we're like humanitarian. We are this beautiful soul that's here to help others. You know, like they tend to see us that way sometimes. And I like going a step further and reminding us all that while that's true, as in we do care about other people, there's this hidden agenda inside, and some people are aware of it, some are just not. You know, for me, yeah, we're doing it to help others, but behind it all, we are really doing it because we are following our excitement. We are doing it for ourselves from that perspective. this work, this career, this can't be a job really. It's more of a calling, isn't it? It energizes me, as in it actually inspires me. It energizes me, gives me, you know, this life force energy that makes it so effortless for me to show up and keep showing up and do all the stuff that my business requires me to do, for me to keep being in this role or doing what I do. If it was de-energizing me, if it was draining, I don't think I would be doing it. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't, if you know what I mean. So isn't it behind the scenes that, yeah, well, we do care. We are really doing it for ourselves, because just we get all this beautiful energy and our life works out, you know, like in a very, very cool way. So I want to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I noticed quite early on, which is how I ended up with a coaching practice in the first place. It was fulfilling me so much that it was like, okay, well, why not? Like, why not now do this full time so that all of your days can be like this? And that's exactly what I continue to follow. And interestingly enough, some of my clients also now aspiring to be coaches, because they've also now had a taste of what is this. They're now helping other people with the things that they've learned, and now they've got a taste of it, and that ripple effect just gets to go even further and even wider, just because we're also fulfilling ourselves as well as helping other people fulfill themselves too.
Beautiful. What a job description. And mind you, I've been hearing you, how you speak of it. I'm pretty sure you're matching me, you know, me inside. I tend to say, like, dude, I'll do this for free, just don't tell anyone. You know, like,
exactly.
Like, you get paid to keep doing this wonderful work that it doesn't feel like work. It feels like meaningful, I don't know, like play, but you know, there's some seriousness to it, but it feels like a play. It feels like a game that just never ends. It's like telling my kids, hey, stop playing a game. He'll play a game whole night if I let him, if you know what I mean. And he won't wake up in the morning complaining about this late night. No, he'll do it next night again, you know. So I guess I just want to make it clear and obvious and transparent that energizes us. So we are doing it for ourselves in a way, right? It's not like we're just in love with other people. We love them, we care about them, and we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun. Well, for me, I speak for me, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun. For me, if my coaching session isn't fun, if it's you know, anything else than energizing for us, I wouldn't be doing it really. You know, I'll find something else to do. So who'd know that letting go of past traumas, some really serious deep stuff for people, can be easy and effortless. And if I say fun, doesn't sound right, you know, but
it'd be enjoyable, fun. Right? It's
you know, that who'd ever think that? Because people just think, I think, quite the opposite, and have very different expectations of what would be required to do so. Anyway, Charlotte, we can go forever like this. So thank you so much for showing up today, for taking your time, you know, to show up for me. And I guess given that you may be soon moving to Thailand, you say, if I don't hear from you in the meantime, I wish you all the best. Check in. You know how to reach me, so check in anytime. It's awesome to follow you. It's awesome to check out your website, see what's going on there. I really appreciate your time and everything that you do in this world. Because you mentioned ripple effects. That's my little hidden gem, because all the work I've been doing so far through clients and students, coaches, master coaches, you guys tend to take the torch onwards, and you are creating ripple effects. And like you said, your clients are creating ripple effects onwards. It's a beautiful picture in my head. So thank you for helping me fulfill my purpose onwards.
No, you know? Right back at you. I think I express my gratitude so much for you, and you know, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for taking that leap of faith and jumping into your training 5 years ago. So I appreciate everything that you do in the world, and I know a lot of other people do too.
Awesome, Charlotte. Thank you, and may our timelines cross again.
They will.